with the intent on putting the game away, and we didn't react real well to it. You know, we came out, I think our first 4 possessions, it was 3 turnovers, if not 4, and they were off to the races.
Did you try to find some guys, more guys that played like Meta did in that third quarter, just intensity-wise?
It would be nice. You know, I mean, and I think I've said this before, it's a shame that, you know, that Meta and Kobe, you know, guys up in age like that, you know, they come out and play that hard. You know, and our young guys aren't realizing that's how they have to play as well to be successful in this league on a night-to-night basis. But, yeah, I would love for our guys to play like Meta. I mean, because when he goes out there, you know, he gives it everything he has, you know, on both ends of the floor, but especially on the defensive end.
Do you know about Jordan Clarkson yet? And we had x-rays going in the back.
No, he's still getting that done right now, so we won't have any answers until after probably the next 15, 20 minutes.
And then how did Kobe come through this physically with the back-to-back tomorrow?
You know, got a chance to rest him in that last fourth quarter, so we'll see how he feels tomorrow. And like I said, hopefully he'll be ready to go.
Would you keep Jordan out tomorrow if it's anything at this point?
It's a possibility. You know, I would rather, you know, see what the doctors and everybody says about it first and then make that determination.
Did he explain to you what happened?
No, he didn't. But I saw what happened. You know, the guy came down on his leg, so I don't know if it's his leg or his ankle. So, again, I got to wait and see.
How frustrating is it for you just not to get that message across and being the ones to punch first?
It's very frustrating. You know, I mean, you know, in this league, you know, if you're going to be soft and passive, you're normally going to get knocked out or beat. You know, and that's what's happening to us right now. You got to be the initiator. You got to be the aggressor. And maybe some of the makeup of our guys are just not that. I don't know, you know, but if they're not, they're going to have to change if they want to survive in this league, because that's how it's got to be. You got to come out and be aggressive from the start. You can't wait to see how the other team is going to play and then decide, okay, well, you know, they're going to be aggressive physical. We have to be aggressive physical. It's too late.
Do you get to that point as a coach where you wonder what else it is that you can get?
I got to that point probably about a month ago, you know, and still wake up in the middle of the night trying to figure that one out, you know. But like I said, you know, I'm going to just keep preaching to the guys about what we need to do on a night-to-night basis until the season's over, and then when it's over, then I'll, you know, focus my attention on the off-season.
Do you think they've already looked ahead to the off-season?
I think it's human nature. You know, when you're having a tough season, you know, it's human nature to just kind of say, man, let's just get this over with, you know. But the bottom line is, you know, got to be a professional. You got to come out and you got to play hard every single night, you know, if it's the last game of the season or 5 games left in the season. You know, because you're still getting paid. You know, if the paycheck was, you know, determined on how hard you played, then maybe that's a different story. But, you know, the bottom line is you're still getting paid to go out there and play the best you can or play as hard as you can for as long as you can. And right now, that's what we have to start getting back to.
You've been through the grind, obviously. Is it difficult seeing the way Kobe sometimes walks off the floor? Does it bother you to see that?
It bothers me that, you know, his last 5, 6, 7, 8 games are going to be, you know, with the way we playing as a team. That bothers me because you're talking about a champion. Mm-hmm. You know, that bothers me because he is a champion, and I hate to see him go out this way. And unfortunately, this is the way it's going to be. But it bothers the hell out of me that, you know, somebody who's given 20 years to this league and has played, you know, through broken fingers, come back from Achilles, come back from shoulder surgery, and he still goes out there and he gives it everything he has. You know, that bothers me.
Still has the heart of a champion.
Still has that heart. That'll never leave him. All right, thank you.
And that was Byron Scott, courtesy of Time Warner Cable Sportsnet, and brought to you by Nexen Tire. Nexen Tire provides high-quality tires with the best warranty in the business. Learn more about one of America's fastest-growing tire brands at NexenTireUSA.com. I mean, you can hear Alan at this point.
Oh, he's frustrated.
Frustrated's one thing, but we've seen frustration from Byron Scott all season. He's resigned at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, he is resigned to the fact that the Lakers are going to lose the overwhelming majority of the next games remaining, if not, were not for the fact that they're playing the Pelicans on Friday, and the Pelicans are a pretty bad, decimated team. your reaction, your instinct would be to say they're going to lose them all. They're going to lose out.
It is interesting for him to say that Metta World Peace and Kobe, the two veterans, the older players on the roster, how he's talking about how they're still playing as hard as they're playing, but he doesn't feel like the young kids are giving in the same effort that they are. I don't know, from a specific standpoint how to look at that, but he's not sugarcoating anything. He's saying it exactly how it is, exactly how he feels, but he keeps kind of pointing the finger without actually saying who the players he's talking about. He's really referring to the three young guys.
Well, yeah, and that's been pretty much the MO and focus and approach for Byron all season. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, that's pretty much. It's rare that he has singled out the effort in a positive way for the kids, during this season, even in games where I thought that, they've really played exceptionally hard. That's just sort of the way he's gone about doing it. I don't think he's wrong right now at this point.
Yeah.
But I do think and he's even said, it's human nature, but also this has got to be so weird for these kids. Mm-hmm. For all these guys right now, but in particular the kids who are still trying to figure out the NBA. You're finally at a point where, in theory, for most teams, everything would be about you. Everything would be about, all right, you know what? It's a lost season, but we're going to focus on your development. But instead, it's all about sending Kobe off.
Think about, Andy, when you were talking to MT just a segment or so ago, you were talking about how weird it is to see that interaction with all the players lining up. It's weird as broadcasters. It's weird as fans. It's weird as anybody watching this. It's weird because it's not something that we see year to year. You guys are trying to see, is there another player that could potentially down the road be in a similar situation like this? And MT said maybe just LeBron. If it's weird for us, and it's weird, imagine the dynamic of the people actually on the court or the coach in this standpoint as well.
Yeah, and it's an interesting question. 877-710-ESPN, or hit us up on Twitter at Cam Brothers, at Alan Sliwa, SWI.
SLI.
Say it again. Say it again.
SLI.
SLIWA. Thank you. If you think any player currently in the league could end up getting this type of reception that Kobe's having, this type of farewell tour, because there definitely aren't going to be many of them. And also, too, I want to talk a little bit just about that approach right now, where we stand right now, where the development is, and why I feel like things really should have been flipped. We'll get into all that coming up. State Farm Postgame Show, ESPN LA.
Hey, it's Flo, and this is my impression of a drill instructor directing a musical. 10 hot! Get those tap heels in line and let me see those jazz hands! Are you bundling your home and auto insurance through Progressive? Can you hear me through those sequins?
Bundle your home and auto through Progressive and save.
Left, and step ball change.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates. Home insurance provided and serviced by other select insurers.
Everything from our purple and gold battle. You are listening to the State Farm Postgame Show. State Farm. We exist to assist. This is the State Farm Postgame Show on your home for Lakers basketball. ESPN LA 710.
Here's Blake Griffin with it. Griffin stolen by Metta World Peace. Metta on a breakaway. Metta all the way. Slam dunk.
Well, he's got 10 points off the bench.
It kind of looks like old school Metta World Peace, who would lock people up.
He says he wants to play 4 more years, so he's trying to show everybody that he has the energy and the endurance to go out there and compete at this high level.
Metta World Peace, 58 years old, and still has some of the fastest hands.
Sign him again
in the league, man. You put the ball around Metta, even at this stage in his career, he can get it away from you. That is the McDonald's defensive play of the game. McDonald's has something new that might surprise you. Breakfast bowls. One loaded with egg white, turkey sausage, kale, and spinach. It's not what you're expecting, right? Or try a scrambled egg and chorizo bowl, each for just $4.39. McDonald's, I'm loving it. State Farm Postgame Show, ESPN LA, Andy Kamenetsky, Alan Sliwa, and a couple bits of news before we continue.
Some breaking news.
Breaking news, indeed. First, reading a tweet right now from Mike Bresnahan, covers the Lakers for the LA Times. X-rays of Jordan Clarkson's right foot lower leg did not show any fractures. So that's good. Mark Medina covers the team for the LA Daily News, said that Jordan Clarkson believes he'll actually be able to play tomorrow against the Clippers. So, again, very good news. And then in a stunning turn of events, Golden State Warriors in Oakland fall 124-117 in overtime to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I called it, Andy. No, I'm just kidding.
That means that right now they are 69-9, 78 games.
Yep.
They got another 4 coming up. That means in order to break the record, they got to win out.
They got to win out. They have 2 against San Antonio, 2 against Memphis, home and away, home and away.
Yeah, they had one more game that they could use as a cushion.
Right.
And this was not the game that they wanted to use as that cushion if they want to break that record.
You know, it's interesting because the Spurs, we'll find out if they're playing for anything in the sense of playing some of their guys. But tonight, for example, they didn't have to play tonight. They played Utah, who's competing at Utah, who's competing to just stay in this playoff race, and they still ended up winning by 2. And a lot of the times you see from the Spurs, even if they don't play some of their main guys, they're not just kind of laying an egg and saying, go ahead and walk all over us.
Well, I mean, look, the Spurs are so, next man up as an organization that they can play a couple starters and their bench, and they still look really good.
They'll be competitive.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
I mean, everybody. I mean, down to the third string, guys like Kyle Anderson or Jonathan Simmons, everybody knows their role. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do.
The Warriors definitely made this a lot tougher to look, if they tie the record, it's obviously still unbelievable what they've accomplished this season, but going into this last week and a half, 2 weeks, I don't want to say you thought, all right, it's 100% going to happen, but I don't think we thought they were going to lose that game against Boston at Oracle, nor this game, especially this game at Oracle against Minnesota.
Yeah, this was absolutely not the one that Golden State had penciled in as, okay, we can afford to drop this one. As far as trying to break that record, they did not have the Timberwolves. And it's interesting, too, because Steve Kerr has talked about how as we're starting to get into this home stretch for them trying to break this record, that it's actually worn on the team.
Yeah.
Like that it's starting to get to them, the talk about this, the pressure of actually doing it. And Steve Kerr knows what it's all about because he was part of that Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman team in '96 that set the record. So he knows exactly what these guys are going through. And it's tough when your season is about more than just the season. And I think we're seeing that right now with the Warriors. And I also think, too, in a very different way for a very different, much less talented team, we're seeing it right now with the Lakers, with these guys, I think, trying to muster up the focus and energy and sense of purpose of going out there when they know at this point all they're really doing is just propping up Kobe's farewell.
Well, look at the differences as well. I mean, you have to respect the Golden State Warriors for being open about it, saying, you know what, we're going after that record. Yes, we don't have to. Yes, we know we have home court throughout the playoffs, whether in the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference. They're saying we're going after history. On the Lakers side, some of these players are looking at each one of these games, and Andy, we'd be lying to ourselves if we weren't in a similar position that you're not waking up and going to work saying, geez, man, can we just kind of get to that game? Imagine a guy like D'Angelo Russell or even Julius Randle in this situation where here they are. One's going to be a power forward for the Los Angeles Lakers, get an opportunity to play for a full season. And the other one's going to be a point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers. And none of it obviously has been about them. And rightfully so. This is Kobe's final year. But mentally, they're probably at a point where they're saying to themselves, if we can just get to that finish line.
Well, but that's also, too, why so much during early in the season, I'd been harping on, like, we need to get more, this has to be more about the development. There has to be more balance. Because early on in the season, it was very obvious that when Kobe was able to play, Byron would give him carte blanche to do pretty much whatever he wanted. His minutes were way too high, especially in the beginning. And I know a lot of people thought, well, you can wait for the second half of the season. That's really when you start ending up, making it about the kids and making it all about the development. And that would make sense, except for the fact that that's also the time where, assuming Kobe's still healthy, you're really going to start focusing on the farewell tour, especially for a team like this that's already tossed the season aside when it comes to wins and losses and any shot at the playoffs. Everything at this point becomes about Kobe. And for these guys, it can't not be, forget distraction. It's got to be incredibly awkward on the court right now. Like, that last game, guys are going to get booed if they put up a shot when Kobe's out there.
Even if Byron decided, you know what, this entire season, yes, Kobe, this is going to be his final year, but this entire season is going to be about the development of the kids, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that game in and game out, these kids are learning something. Whether he liked it or not, the crowd and just the hype getting closer to his final game, that was going to happen either way. But there's been so much focus on just that you're kind of looking back saying, yeah, you could have paid a little bit more attention.
Exactly. Because to me, like, the natural order of things dictated that assuming Kobe was healthy, and granted, that was always a question mark, particularly when early in the season he's playing 30-something minutes a night. That would be a question mark. But assuming it happened, of course you're going to start seeing him play more minutes. And of course, things are going to center around him. He's going to put up a lot of shots because that's what the crowd is going to want to see from him in these last handful of games. And I have no problem with him doing it, but I do feel like at this point, especially when you're talking about a team that has 16 wins, they don't have much to play for anyway, but they don't even have that sense of team to play for right now because they're just out there to pretty much chauffeur the Kobe wagon.
Yeah. Last year they won 21 games?
Yeah, they won 21 games.
21 games, so that was the worst record in franchise history. They have 16 now, I think 5 games left to go, so it's pretty safe to say that they're going to break that record again.
I feel confident making that statement,
you
Alan.
Definitely do. You know, one thing I was going to ask you, can you imagine MT when you were doing that network postgame and you were talking to him about a D'Angelo Russell or what Chris Paul was doing, and he's looking at the score. He's just looking at the box score trying to see if Clay and the Golden State Warriors were going to win that game, and you're trying to interrupt him with a question about how do you think Meta World Peace was doing?
He did. God bless Michael. He did seem like he wanted to get the hell off that show really, really quick. I mean, normally Michael will wax poetic about everything, really give these thoughtful responses.
He called in.
Exactly. He
on his way home last
He called in the last show because we were talking about Thon Maker, and I predicted the pun that Michael would make about Thon Maker being, potentially available for the NBA draft.
Right.
And Michael was so inspired, he called in from the car. But this game, Michael's head was clearly somewhere else. My guess is you're right, Alan. He was looking to see what the Warriors were doing, and unfortunately, they ended up losing.
By the way, is there any more information on that? Has the NBA looked into it for potentially having him come into this draft?
To the best of my knowledge, none.
I haven't heard anything either.
This is probably going to be something they're going to look to sort out. Probably take a look at potential precedent that could be set from letting Thon Maker enter the draft, and they've got time. They actually have time to sort this out. It's not like this is something that they've got to make a decision for right away because Thon Maker, I have to assume, is going to continue doing his workouts regardless. It's just really a matter of, I guess, what team Maker decides they want to do if he's actually draft eligible. But I would think that a lot just goes on business as usual. Coming up, we will hear from Julius Randle, D'Angelo Russell, perhaps even Kobe Bryant, depending on when he finishes up. State Farm Postgame Show, Andy Kamenetsky, Alan Sliwa, ESPN LA.
Capping everything from our purple and gold's battle. You are listening to the State Farm Postgame Show. State Farm, we exist to assist. This is the State Farm Postgame Show on your home for Lakers basketball. ESPN LA 710.
Huertas dribbling left. Huertas to the baseline. Throws it top of the key, Ryan Kelly. Now Clarkson has it, barreling towards the rim, knocks a guy down, throws it up and in. First 2 points of the game for Jordan Clarkson, and the Lakers have it to within single digits, 36-28.
Not a particularly strong night for Jordan Clarkson, just 4 of 13 from the floor for 10 points. But that was a very strong drive to get his first 2 points on the board. That was also the drive of the game, brought to you by Subaru Santa Monica. Stop by Subaru Santa Monica today to experience the new one-price policy. Learn more about it at SubaruSantaMonica.com, an LA Car Guy dealership. State Farm Postgame Show, ESPN LA, Andy Kamenetsky, Alan Sliwa, and the Lakers fall 103-81 to the Clippers, taking their record to 16-61. Not a shock to see that happen, but what was a shock was the Golden State Warriors falling 122-117 in overtime in their house to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Got a great tweet from @Nazar Lim. Remember when Ivan Drago bled and Rocky knew he was beatable? That's how the league feels about the Warriors right now.
It's the first time
Can we take it that far? Has this gone to Rocky Drago?
That's a very strong comparison. I don't know if I'd ever go that far with anything, but there is a point there. Boston first, now Minnesota. Not to say that Boston isn't a playoff team, because they are, and they could be not a sleeper in the East, but they can make some noise in the East. Minnesota, now if there's some other teams out there that think, you know what, we can actually go up to Oracle and get a victory, might inject some confidence in some of these other teams that are potentially going to face them in the playoffs.
I was going to say, I don't think we've quite reached the stage with this loss that we've learned that the Warriors, they're not a machine, they're a man. But, as Rocky learned once he saw Drago bleed,
yes,
not a machine, he's a man. But, to have that loss take place in Arco, where they have been, unbeatable.
Late in the season, too.
Late into the season. They've only recently started having any type of issue whatsoever in Oakland. I don't think it makes them look, exposed or anything like that. But just to have that, to have that aura, poked away just a little bit, just that aura of total invincibility when you enter their house in the playoffs, that does mean something for other teams.
And just to add a layer, they're not sitting guys saying, hey, you know what, we're good to go. We have the Western Conference locked up. We have the Eastern Conference locked up in the sense that they're going to have home court throughout the playoffs. They're trying to break the record. You heard Scottie Pippen say a couple nights ago, he said that we'll sweep them or we'll win 4-1, something along those lines. Yeah, exactly. But they're trying to win these games. They want to beat the Chicago Bulls in that 72-win team season. So they're playing very meaningful games this late in the season. And look, it could be just a bump in the road. It could be a hiccup. We could be sitting here a month from now and they're cruising through the playoffs. But it does potentially cast a little doubt.
Well, I don't know if it casts doubt for me, Alan, but what it does to me underscore is just this record thing is getting to them.
Yeah.
And for them to be playing their best ball heading into the playoffs, for whatever it is worth, because even the Warriors at A- is better than 95% of the league.
100%, right.
But if they want to be playing A ball, and you always do in the playoffs, you want to be playing your best basketball possible, it might actually be beneficial for them to actually lose the next couple, just have the record out of the way, and then they can just refocus on the playoffs. Because as far as really playing their best right before the playoffs begin, if, say, that last game is, the difference between it happening or not, it wouldn't shock me if even they win these games, they don't look their best. They don't look like the Warriors that we saw in December and January and February.
Well, I'll tell you who's rooting for them to win. That'd be Greg Popovich and the Spurs, because all Greg Popovich is looking at is, you guys keep fighting for that. I'll keep getting my guys in that position that I usually do towards the end of the season, where they're going to be healthy for that stretch run. And in Golden State's eyes, I don't want to say they're being selfish by any means, because this is what any organization would do, but they're saying, we want it all. We already got that championship last year. This year, we not only want to get a championship, but we also want to get 70 wins.
There had been that interesting question before about what Pop would do if the Warriors were in position to break that record in San Antonio. How would he react? Would he go out of his way to go full squad? Would he give certain guys a night off? What type of mental game would he potentially play with that? And my thought was, I could see Pop going ham when it comes to sitting guys. Just going YOLO sitting guys, basically to send the message, we don't care. I
would be much more shocked if he played everybody than he didn't.
Right.
Much more shocked, because that would be the theme of what Greg Popovich has done, and he's done that for a number of years, and he's been successful at it.
If you want to send a message to the rest of your team about what truly matters for a season,
right,
what doesn't matter, and how much confidence you have in them, you would basically say, you know what, I'm going to sit dudes, Golden State, get your jollies, break your record on our court, beat us, we don't care. Because we know that this is ultimately meaningless when it comes to the actual playoffs, and that would be such a Pop way to handle it.
It could still happen. They could still potentially be in that position. I was going to see in their schedule, I know they have 2 left against San Antonio, but I didn't know how that exactly worked. Their final game is against Memphis. So the next game they have is against the Spurs, at Memphis, at San Antonio, and then Memphis one more time at home.
Well, those 2 games between Golden State and the Spurs are going to be, not just hopefully great games, but they're going to be really fascinating because there are going to be mental games played, mental adjustments. Yeah. That chess game between Popovich and one of his proteges, and by the way, Steve Kerr.
I was just going to talk about that.
Steve Kerr is going to be hard to play those games against because he knows every trick.
So Kerr under Phil Jackson, who got the 72 wins with the Bulls. Then Kerr under Greg Popovich for a number of years, a champion with Greg Popovich, and now building something on his own, obviously from what he learned with Phil Jackson and with Greg Popovich. It is a very interesting dynamic.
Well, it's also, too, what's really interesting about it is because, Steve Kerr has been groomed in a lot of ways under Greg Popovich, and he's learned a lot from him that he's obviously applied to his own coaching style, and he's admitted that. So because of the time he's spent around Pop, that he's seen the bag of tricks, and he's seen the tricks employed. But every great teacher, every great coach, whether you've seen this with Popovich or you've seen this with Kobe in the way he'll share a little bit with some of the players like Russell Westbrook or Kevin Durant, they still keep a few things in the bag that they show nobody.
Right.
Because they want to make sure, okay, I'll give you 90% of the tricks, but I'm going to keep 10% that really matter. And it's going to be interesting to see the ones that Pop tries to bust out and surprise Steve Kerr with, because Kerr is as familiar with everything Pop would do and every bit of Pop's thinking as anybody he would go up against in a series.
It's Belichick in football. It's these great minds in coaching. They're not going to put out all their cards strategically for them while you're trying to fight that battle that night. They're fighting the battle 2 nights from now.
Right.
That's really the way their thought process, and more than just their thought process, that's the experience that they have.
Can we can we just skip to the Western Conference Finals? Please? Can we please just skip it? Not for, not the least of reasons of which, so we don't have to necessarily watch the next Laker games.
Andy, on the Clippers side of things, I think it's pretty safe to say nobody thinks that they're going to win a title this year, or nobody really thinks that they're going to get past the second round because they would be facing the Warriors in the second round. I want to get your thoughts on potentially DeAndre, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin. They're going to have some decisions to make in the offseason because how are you going to chase the Golden State Warriors? How are you going to chase potentially the San Antonio Spurs? And we could talk about that when we come back next.
Absolutely. Andy Kamenetsky, Alan Sliwa, State Farm Postgame Show, ESPN LA.
Recapping everything from our purple and gold battle. You are listening to the State Farm Postgame Show. State Farm. We exist to assist. This is the State Farm Postgame Show on your home for Lakers basketball. ESPN LA 710.
Here's Crawford driving into the lane, poked away by Clarkson. Here come the Lakers, 4-on-2. Clarkson pulls up, give it a Meta, drive to the rim, lay it up and in. Well-executed break. Lead down to 23 with a minute and a half to go. And Meta World Peace, guys, has 12 points. He's tied with Russell as the leading scorer for the Lakers tonight. Good for him.
Meta World Peace ended up finishing the night with 17 points, 5 of 10 from the floor, 2 of 3 from behind the arc, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, a throwback Tuesday, game for Meta World Peace. He is the Fantasy Springs Resort Casino Lakers player of the game. Fantasy Springs Resort Casino, located in the beautiful Palm Springs area, offers you all you need for a fun-filled getaway or complete destination vacation, whether your fantasy includes luxurious hotel rooms, exciting Vegas-style gambling options, fabulous dining, world-class entertainment, golf, or poolside lounging. You'll find it at Fantasy Springs Resort Casino. State Farm Postgame Show, ESPN LA, Andy Kamenetsky, Alan Sliwa, joined now by Brian Kamenetsky, but also ESPN LA's own host of Thompson and Trudell, also part of the 3-man team with Michael Thompson and John Ireland on every Lakers radio call. Mike Trudell joining us. Mike, I wanted to ask you, about a really great thing that you were a part of tonight for Craig Sager. Can you explain just the backstory and how everything ended up happening?
Yeah, what's up, guys? How are you? So basically, I was watching the Craig Sager special a couple of weeks ago on HBO, in which it was kind of detailing that he was in his third bout with cancer, with leukemia, and just how incredible that was, and how he continues to report. He continues to be the best sideline reporter that there is. And I was thinking to myself, maybe one night I'll just wear, I'll kind of, as a tribute to Sager, who we went to Northwestern, same school I went to. He was actually the mascot for, he was Willie the Wildcat, our mascot. So I've been a big fan of Sager for a long time. So I thought maybe I would wear a combo and then just tweet it to him or send it to him and say, hey, thinking about you. And then I thought, why don't I just try to involve the entire league of sideline reporters? So I basically just went through, and the league helped me track everybody down through email, and this was just a couple of days ago, and I said, hey, why don't we on Tuesday and Wednesday all wear the Sager-inspired outfit and put a hashtag on their sideline for Sager, and that was about it, man. I wanted to try to honor him as he continues to report while being treated for cancer for a third time. It's really remarkable, and the least we can do is just give him a little tip of the cap.
Yeah, Mike, I assume the pickup around the league among your colleagues was pretty quick.
Yeah, no, I got emails back from everybody within a couple of hours. It seemed like, so this was not. I wasn't really twisting any arms. I think a lot of people were eager to show their respect for Craig, and it was really that simple. And I think now there are still some teams, obviously, that didn't play tonight that are playing tomorrow. When everybody gets done, I'm going to try to gather all of the pictures that people took, and then I'll have our Lakers.com digital geniuses over there put everything together into a graphic and send it over to Craig.
I'll say, though, I got to say this, though. I mean, it's a really cool honor. It was a great idea, and congratulations for thinking about it. But it's a lot harder, I think, than people think when you get right down to it, to actually go out and dress inspired by Craig Sager or like Craig Sager. You really have to be Craig Sager to make that happen and have access to that wardrobe.
It is not easy. I mean, I have my one bright blue suit that I got in China that I try to wear no more than once a year. But I had to go to like 3 different places to find a shirt that was loud enough, and then, matching it with a pocket square and a tie. And I don't even bother with the shoes. I mean, the alligator or the whatever, type of hide that he has on there. But, you know what's funny to me about his outfits? People think that he kind of does it just because it's him or as a joke or something, but it really, throughout the years with him, it hits with the NBA players. It kind of breaks the ice. It gives them something to talk about, and it lowers their guard. And then he's able to really get stuff out of guys. So I think that's the hidden genius behind the Sager's outfits, is that NBA players love that kind of stuff for the most part. They love a little swagger, and there's nobody that's done it better than him.
Did you feel tonight players treating you differently? Like you had a little bit more swagger? Did they see a totally different Mike Trudell?
I don't think I quite rocked it like Sager, so I can't put myself anywhere near in that league. I mean, I will say that the guys liked it. They certainly kind of give a head nod over in my direction. But listen, guys, I think we can all agree that this is nowhere near the Craig Sager level.
And then it was a good-looking outfit. I mean, just by that, it made it so it wasn't Sager-esque completely.
Yeah, I think that my wife kind of mentioned that. She's like, that might match a little bit too well. And I said, I think you're right. That's my bad.
I mean, look, Mike, this is the first tribute you've ever pulled together like this. I think you need to let yourself off the hook if it wasn't quite Sager-esque. Last question for you. Have you heard from Craig in terms of his reaction or anything that he thought about the tribute?
Well, I'm not even sure if Craig was watching or was made aware of everything going on tonight. He's probably prepping for his next game, which is on Thursday. So at some point, I'm trying to think if the Lakers, if any of these games are TNT, and if Sager will be there. But I'll shoot him a little email at some point, and hopefully he got okay. Let me rephrase. In that HBO show, Sager basically mentioned that every little thing helps, really people are thinking about him, and especially for those of us that are doing the job that he does better, to all of us. Hopefully that means at least a small amount to him that everybody's thinking of him.
Well, the hashtag is sideline for Sager, SAGER. You can see a picture of Mike Trudell that I tweeted out at Cam Brothers. Mike, this is great, man. A great job thinking this up. Great job organizing it, man. Props to you. That's awesome.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I will see all of you very shortly, I'm sure.
Yeah, yes, you will, for probably a very similar result.
All right, sounds good.
And that was Mike Trudell, co-host of Thompson and Trudell, also part of the three-man team for every ESPN LA broadcast with John Ireland and Michael Thompson. That's great, man.
It's definitely really cool. all over Twitter.
Oh yeah, I mean,
so it's getting the much needed love, and that's great that they did that for him. And kudos to Mike for coming up with that concept and idea.
Yeah, it's great to and Craig Sager himself has talked about his prognosis is I think the third time the cancer has come back, and the prognosis. Put it out is not good, and you don't always get. And you listen to KSP Los Angeles, you don't get always the opportunity to honor people while they're alive when they're fighting battles and all these things, and to take the time to do that for a guy who's so important in the industry. I mean, you forget because, like Mike said, you focus on the outfits and you focus on the clothes and all that. How long he's been around and how big of a name he is in this industry, particularly for people who do what Mike does. And so, like you said, Andy, it's a great honor, and congratulations to Mike for thinking of it. Kudos to his colleagues around the league for agreeing and adopting it so quickly, and hopefully it provides. Just again, one of these little jolts to a guy, that helps him keep going.
And obviously, the best wishes for Craig Sager moving forward in this fight. When we return, gonna pivot back to the question Alan had asked about the Clippers moving forward and their potential playoff prognosis and what happens if they end up. Try to wrap your head around this with another second round exit, and also maybe a little bit more reaction from the Lakers side of things.
It could happen.
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 State Farm Postgame Show. Kamenetsky Brothers, Alan Slewa, ESPN LA.
Everything from our purple and gold battle. You are listening to the State Farm Postgame Show. State Farm. We exist to assist. This is the State Farm Postgame Show on your home for Lakers basketball. ESPN LA 710.
State Farm Postgame Show, ESPN LA, Andy Kamenetsky, Brian Kamenetsky, Alan Slewa. Lakers fall 103-81 to the Clippers in Kobe's last contest against the crosstown rivals as a visitor tomorrow. The Lakers will play host. The court will be flipped, and Kobe will play the Clippers.
The schedule, Andy, will lead them back home. Where they have not been very good this year. It's a little scary.
As long as it wasn't forced. Nope. You were in the locker room and also heard Byron post game. Byron seemed
salty.
I was going to say, but it was interesting. Alan and I were talking about it. It wasn't just frustrated. He seems resigned about where this is headed for the next 5 games.
They're ready to be done, and I understand it. They were ready to be done before the Nick Young stuff. They were ready to be done. Probably in a month and a half ago.
So they were ready to be done in November.
But to their credit, they are coming off. They got blown out tonight because the Clippers are much better, and when the Clippers are focused, as D'Angelo Russell said after the game, Ireland asked him for Time Warner, what was it that helped you guys get back in the game? And he said, well, they took out their starters. And they subbed, and that helped us get back in the game. And then in the third quarter, they put their starters back in, and they ran out. So it's like
Chris Paul was a freaking monster.
Right. I mean, that's basically what it was. It's like when Chris Paul decides we're not going to screw this game up, they're going to blow the doors off the Lakers. And so, as frustrated as they clearly are, as ready as they are, and I talked to a couple guys in the locker room after the game, and they admit it, I'm ready for this to be done. They still are coming off 2 of their better games, 2 of their more spirited efforts, and one of which they won, one of which they lost, certainly over the last couple weeks. So they haven't folded the tents completely. They did have that nice rebound after the 48-point loss in Utah. Tonight, they just got their butts kicked by a much better team that was paying attention. And anytime they play a better team, if that team is paying attention, they're going to get their butts kicked.
And I wouldn't be shocked tomorrow.
They're going to get their butts kicked.
Well, I would disagree. I wouldn't be shocked tomorrow if they come out a lot more aggressive because it's a Lakers home game. Kobe's second to last final game at Staples Center.
Nope.
Listen, I know the Celtics. I know when they played the Celtics, there was more of a purpose for it for Kobe, and maybe some of the other guys fed off of it. But I wouldn't be shocked tomorrow because that is the Los Angeles Lakers this season. They'll play 3-4 terrible games, and then they'll surprise you with one game where they come out and they're competitive. They're not going to win the game, but they're competitive.
Look, they could come out and hit a couple shots, Andy, and the strain. But if the Clippers are focused and they're paying attention and they're playing to their capabilities, and Blake Griffin may not play tomorrow, he may not. Larry Nance will be in uniform for the Lakers. That helps a little bit. It'll make a difference, but they're not constructed to win games like this.
No, and they're also, too, right now, the construction of where they are in this season and what these games are all about, which is basically saying goodbye to Kobe in all these different spots. The other 11 guys are basically Kobe's chauffeur for, the goodbye Kobe way.
Well, they're chauffeuring all the stuff that people want to see.
Right, but I mean,
Kobe said last night, he's trying to give people what they want.
No, the problem isn't Kobe. I'm not
blaming him, but that's what's happening.
But it's beyond the fact that, everybody's hyper aware of the fact that everyone's out there to see Kobe. Your place out there, I'm sure for these guys, whether they'll admit it or not, feels absolutely meaningless.
Did you guys hear? You guys heard the clip of when D'Angelo Russell was out, in the Boston game, what he was asked when Kobe was in his ear. What was he telling you? Give me the ball. That's what Kobe was telling him, to give him the ball. And what did he do? Gave him the ball, because that's what they're doing right now. And I think it's tough for Kobe. He comes out, and that's why he's shooting so much, Allen, in first quarters, because he doesn't know how. He might not be able to come back in the third or fourth, so he's trying to give.
Or there may be no need.
Right, and that makes it like tonight, and that makes it hard for the Lakers to get into any kind of rhythm offensively. So they're not. A lot of things are conspiring to make this very difficult for them to win.
In a nutshell, he gets to April 13th. He plays that final game. Everybody turns the page, and then the organization will start having an idea come off season, come summer camp, come all that, where the Lakers really are. Because if we're trying to compare it now, there's just no proper way of doing it. There really isn't.
I will say the one part of that I disagree with you about is the spirit of Kobe Bryant, almost like sort of an Obi-Wan Kenobi glowing thing, to go back to the Star Wars thing, is only going to get bigger and harder and larger. And 2 or 3 years from now, the idea that I think will be past Kobe will be true in some ways. But if things don't improve relatively quickly, if they can't find that next person to come in and do it, Andy, I think it's going to be really hard. I think that the weight of Kobe isn't necessarily going to go away quickly.
You and I, Brian, have talked about this for a long time. For all the talk about whether star players want to play with Kobe, do guys around the league want to be Kobe's teammate? Is that why he hasn't, is the reason they haven't had as many stars with Kobe because guys don't want to play with him, blah, blah, blah? I think the much, much more daunting thing to do is actually be the guy after Kobe.
Oh, for sure.
Because you are constantly going to be compared to Kobe. Every single action that you make is going to be viewed through the prism of Kobe. It's going to be brutal. In a lot of ways, I think it's best for the team, perhaps moving forward, that they already have 3 guys that they are hoping in Jordan Clarkson, D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle. Maybe 2 of the 3 can be at the very least all-stars.
Right.
And no single person is going to be expected to carry the entire load, because that is such a brutal act to follow.
I've asked this question to people all the time, and just to illustrate the point, Andy, that you're getting at. Kobe is the Jordan of this generation. No question about it. The closest thing anybody's gotten to Jordan, and very well might be the closest thing anybody ever gets to Jordan as a 2-guard. Who did the Bulls replace Michael Jordan with when he retired?
Harold Miner?
Nobody. The answer is nobody.
Sure.
And they didn't try. It took a while. They didn't even bother with it until 5 or 6, 7 years. It was they didn't try. Nobody replaced Michael Jordan, and so to be that guy, that's why I don't think Kevin Durant is the right guy. But Russell Westbrook could, because Westbrook doesn't care. And Durant does.
And one way to kind of turn that page, the key is going to be just try to be successful collectively. Try to be successful in your own way, because you're not going to repeat what the Lakers did. There was never another Magic Johnson. There was never another Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaq, Kobe, and so forth. Just be your own identity.
Well, tomorrow we're going to do all of this over again, quite literally. I don't know if that is a threat or a promise, but either way, it's going to happen. Pre-game coverage beginning at 6 o'clock, 7:30 tip. Lakers hosting the Clippers, then the State Farm postgame show, obviously, afterwards, involving all three of us. State Farm postgame show, Kamenetsky Brothers, Alan Sliwa, ESPN LA.
Thanks for listening to the State Farm postgame show on ESPN LA.
ESPN LA 710. Hi, this is Byron Scott. Hey, what's going on? This is Kobe Bryant.
Hey, this is Nick Swaggy P. Young.
After every Lakers game, your first chance to react is only here on the home of Lakers basketball. LA sports leader, ESPN LA 710.